So
We're here.
in Jebel Al-Akhbar. Um, Obviously, you picked this place because we know that you spend so much time here. I'm just wondering, what got you into Jebel Al-Akhbar Aslan?
Spent a lot of time.
Spent a lot of time in
Yeah,
Jebel
it's
Al-Akhbar.
past tense. It's been a while since I've been back here. Back here now for some work. But the last 10 years, this has been my home, really.
Wow.
Working with Outward Bound. This has been where most of our courses happened, with the kids, with the corporate, with everyone, really. So it's funny coming back. It just feels like home. And seeing the people that I know, took them to some places. We did a little hike yesterday, which is not part of the plan, but I was just so
You just
happy.
had to.
Just so happy to do it. It's like, yeah, come on, let's go. But yeah, that's been my connection with Jebel Akhbar. It's home.
It's home.
Home away from home. Yeah.
So were you spending like every day here, or did you had some weekends
I
off?
counted once. I think it was my second year at Outward Bound, and I counted how many times I used my tent. And the majority of the times we use a tent is here in the mountains.
Okay.
In 2 years, it was about 600 and something. So most of the year, basically, I was spending out here, camping.
In a tent.
In a tent. So I slept more in a tent than I did in my own bed, I've counted, over the first 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing.
I counted zipping and unzipping the tent. So how many nights, sorry. Yeah, how many
zipping and
nights? Yeah.
Bad.
Not counting the toilet breaks, you know.
And
Packing
like,
and unpacking.
and that was for the expedition, for the women or the teams that you guys used to take out for a couple of days for hikes, or like a program.
It was always with different groups, so
Okay.
mostly schools.
Okay.
Schools, boys, girls, a lot of government schools. So I started off my first years in Outward Bound, a lot of 10th graders from government schools. So these are the
Okay.
youth groups that we focused on. And then more into the college, university students,
That's
which was,
amazing.
each group has its own, energy, its
Which
own.
year did you join out for?
2014.
And
Yeah, and I just left 2 months ago. So yeah,
How
it
do
was
you
a
feel
big
about that?
big part of my life. So much has changed. I saw them yesterday. I went up to the mountain to the campsites. Some of the groups were there, some new people that they had hired, and it was just
Nice to see them.
really nice to see them. Really nice. It felt like being back with family, back home at the campsites. I knew the setup. I knew what everything is. It just felt comfortable.
So you just mentioned it was a big change. What was the big change here?
Well, with my career, I left Outward Bound, and that sort of changed my life. I think with Outward Bound came a lifestyle as well. A lifestyle of being very active, being very much in the outdoors. And now I'm very much a city girl. I've counted, like, in the last month, I've left Al Khuwair 3 months, I've left Al Khuwair once.
Wow.
That's not me.
That's an entire
That's an
transition.
entire flip, exactly. So I'm really trying to cope right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and trying to get back. It's been really good, and thank you so much for getting me out here. Honestly, when you said yesterday 4 a.m. and it was already 10 o'clock, I'm like, oh God, that means wake up at 3:30.
Yes.
Get in the car, get here.
Yes.
No way. But the moment we were crossing that bridge, the thought that crossed my mind is, I'm so happy I said yes. So thanks.
You're welcome. I mean, I had to pick a place where it's comfortable and it's beautiful, and it represents parts of you, because you're among
oh my God,
so
I'm
many
getting
things.
emotional, geez.
So, like,
Yeah.
you mentioned that you got into Outward Bound in 2014, but when did you start getting into sports, or where did you start practicing sports?
Sports.
In general? And
What does
kind
that
of
mean?
So, what sports did you
Exactly.
do
What
you
does
practice?
What does that mean, sports, to you? Because sports, really, for me, maybe since I was a child, 3.
Okay.
As soon as I learned to walk, maybe, I was already climbing my cupboards, and I was always climbing things.
Since you
The
were 3?
fridge. Yeah. I was up the fridge by the age of 3.
Wow.
I was up my cupboards by the age of 6. I was always up there before my brother and helping him up. My brother's 1 year older than me, Adil.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then the doors, the climbing doors technique. Did you ever try that as a kid? You could do it 2 ways. You could do it 2 ways with your legs and your, Okay. I'll demonstrate later. And then that just evolved. It just continued. University, I did a lot of running. A lot of running. Started kiteboarding when I got back to Oman.
So where were you born and where did you live?
So lived here.
Okay.
School, everything was here. I just went to Austria for university.
Okay.
So that was, what, 3-4 years, including I worked as well.
Okay.
In Barcelona for a year. Yeah, so I did quite a bit of
Traveling.
my fair share of traveling. I love traveling. Yeah.
So you became, at some point, a kite surfing
Instructor, yeah.
That's amazing. And how long did that take you? Like, so you
to learn?
Yeah.
Actually, it was quite fast, the pickup, surprisingly. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I love physics. And when I tried kiteboarding in the beginning, it felt natural. But then I moved to another school where they taught me the physics of it and why the kite acts the way it does, aerodynamics and so on. And I really got into it. And that's when I got into being a kiteboarding instructor, once I started understanding it better.
And you trained here in Oman, so?
I trained here in Oman, so it's a VDWS, it's a German license.
Right.
They come from Germany, and it was in Masira Island, so...
And I recall that you stayed in Masira for like 2
Yes,
years or something?
Yes, no, so it's every summer. So while I worked with Outward Bound for quite a few years, every summer I would go to Masira for the kite season. The kite season, the monsoon, happens in the summer, and so that's when I go down for a couple of months.
Right.
Every year and teach. People fly in by the flocks. It's amazing, Noor, from all over the world. Get groups in the masses, 20 people in one go, just traveling just to come to Oman, just for kiteboarding. It's not a pit stop or something. That is the place they are coming for this.
For that, amazing. I didn't
We're
know it
very
was
lucky.
I didn't know it was a big community here.
It's not a big community at all, and that's a beautiful thing. And that's why kiteboarding Oman is such a good spot. Kiting, it's a dangerous sport if it's very busy, especially for beginners learning.
Right.
Lots of kites in the air, there's lots of probability of an accident. In Oman, you don't have lots of kiteboarders. And you've got huge, amazing lagoons where it's very safe for a beginner. They could fall off, walk, rather than get dragged into the ocean.
Okay, I think there'll be some point where I'll come to you and I'll be like, Anisa,
you should.
It's
been a while. It's honestly been a while since I've been kiteboarding myself, and I would love to get back into it. And an excuse to teach someone is the
right. So we got
excuse.
You back to the mountains at this point. So hopefully we'll get you back
next
to the
step.
sea.
Get me to the ocean.
Next time.
Yeah.
So all right. So you started climbing since you were a child. You got into kite surfing. What else?
But
did
really,
you do?
really climbing, I would say rock climbing. I started in my 20s.
Right.
And then really picked it up in my early 30s. Yeah.
Right. That's amazing. As a child, as you mentioned, you'd be always climbing up. And did you come from an athletic family or?
No, not at all. My dad claims, because he was in the police, he claims he can, run a mile and swim in no time and whatever. But I've never seen him in action. I've never seen him do it, and he doesn't physically look like he can. But my mom's always been adventurous. She does have the adventurous streak in her, very much so.
Right.
She's always curious about exploring. She told me her stories as a kid, alwa's wondering what's around.
That's
just like
by
me.
the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I think I get that from
mom.
her,
Okay.
but maybe she wasn't able to live it. Mom's always a big inspiration for me when I'm exploring things. I always think, cause she told me once when I was young that I can't do it, Anisa, but I want to do it through you. So go explore. I want you to see things. I want to live through you.
That's
and that was one of the, any time, I would think of my mom. If I think, no, I can't do this, or what's the point to keep going? She's like, she would want to see what's around the corner, so let's see.
That's amazing. And where is she from?
Pakistan.
And your dad is from Oman?
Oman, yeah.
So you come from a mixed family.
Yeah.
Do you have any siblings?
I do. I've got 4 siblings. Well, I'm the 4th.
Yes.
3.
Are you the eldest or
I'm in the middle.
The middle child?
Yeah, the middle child who's always trying to prove themselves, right?
I get it. I totally can relate. So yeah, you're the middle child. And how were you raised as a child? How were you raised by your family? Were you raised just to go and explore, or how were you raised in general?
What you mean in terms of being able to explore?
Just
so
you being you, like, how were you raised as a child?
Okay, so looking at early childhood, when we first started exploring the neighborhood. It starts with that, I suppose, right?
Yeah. That was in Muscat.
That was in Muscat.
Right.
And it was just Muscat, al-Ghubra, but it didn't, we moved quite a bit. So there was Qurum growing up, and that was not so many. I remember the neighborhood, going around, exploring, just the close neighbors. Al-Ghubra was a little bit older, and we had bikes at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And that meant the whole neighborhood was now in access,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
And then not just the neighborhood, the next one and so on, without Mom knowing, of course. We had our timeline on when we're supposed to come back. So it was always however fast we can bike to our new destination and back. Right. So there was a lot of that going on. My dad never really knew about the adventures. Mom would eventually find out. I would rollerblade from my house in Al-Ghubra all the way to Al-Khuwair.
Wow.
And back then, you know.
Wow, that's quite a distance.
Exactly.
So you always had that energy and that exploring spirit in you. And what I understood a huge part of it comes from your mother. It was always encouraged.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it was encouraged. You see, for that rollerblading, I really got into trouble.
What happened?
Well, Mom found out.
How did you find out?
It goes like this, right? So
right.
Mom's argument is, I'm not your driver. I need to get to my best friend's house. So what's the solution? I can't walk there. Rollerblades, and it's a lot faster. So that was my logic. And Mom went to sleep in the afternoon, and I headed off. But by the time I came back, the plan was that her dad would drop me back.
Right.
But he didn't.
So you had to go back?
I had to go back rollerblading, and that took a while.
Wow.
And so Mom found out when I got back late, and there you go.
That's amazing. So
that was the start of many troubles.
I can tell. And it continued. But now you're more encouraged, I guess, to do the things that you've been doing.
I think I was always like, Mom even, no, I was, still am, like Mom calls me the bulldog of the house. So like once we had some kids, that was it. So we had some kids come over, and they were stealing, you know when you used to put the gas tanks outside the house, and we didn't have the lock on or what, and they came in and tried to steal the gas tanks.
Right.
And they had their bikes, so eventually Mom heard them, called me. Of course she would call me, why not? There's two other guys in the house, but call Anisa. I come running out the kitchen, they split, and they run over the wall. One of them bikes across, and he goes, I could see where he's gone through the road, because I climbed the wall over, and I see where he is, dodge them to go over the wall.
Did you catch him?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So that's what Mom's
no wonder why she calls you the bulldog of the house.
Bulldog.
That's amazing.
Me and my middle brother, so we're both the middle ones.
You're the
troublemakers.
Yeah, the trouble ones for sure. So it seems like you're very close to your mother, and you have this very strong bond to her. How is your relationship with your dad?
I wish it could be better. Yeah. I can't tell, because I don't really know what I'm missing out on. Right. I've never really had a close relationship with him. I mean, he was always there, but there was never a bond or real conversation other than just the superficial, you know, the normal, how your studies going good.
Yeah, the typical.
It's not as close as I would like.
Okay.
Yeah, we have been making some extra effort recently, so I'm really happy about that.
That's nice.
I've had a really long conversation with him. Yeah, so it's working out. It is turning out.
And how did that happen?
Funny enough, it started with me going to the North Pole. It was the week before I was heading to the North Pole.
Right.
I got a call.
That was in 2018.
2018. I got a call from my dad saying he's not well. He's got heart issue, which is quite serious, and he's at the hospital. And this is just 1 week before I was supposed to set off. In fact, a few days. The plan was so I was up in Jabal Akhtar, exactly. Jabal Akhtar. We're right here, with Outward Bound, and it was my last camping day. Leave on Thursday, head back, flight on Friday, off to Norway for 1 week before we head to the North Pole.
Okay.
So it was just a few days before I was going to travel, and got this call. And I'm like, okay, Ba, now how do I get in touch with you? Because my siblings aren't really, if anything, then I'm the most who's in contact with him.
Right.
So how do I know if you're okay? How do I know, this is serious? You're going to a hospital when, and when's the surgery? and he says, take the number of your half-brother, Assam, who I haven't been in touch with since we were kids. I vaguely remember him. Took the number. I said, would it be okay if I call him? Would he be okay with it? He's like, just do it. So I called him, and that started off another beautiful relationship. And then, you know, from there, alhamdulillah, Dad's okay. But that really started off the stronger connection we have now, and us communicating a bit more. When I came back, told him about the North Pole. He's like, and what did you get out of that?
We're going to get...
Not the reaction I wanted again, but hey, that's Dad.
It's normal. I mean, a lot of dads are dads.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a dad. He's a dad. So, the North Pole.
The North Pole.
You're the first Omani, and I won't say just woman because you're the first Omani to actually cross and reach the last degree.
Yeah.
And you did it for like, how long was it? For like...
Amazingly, it only took 10 days, 8 days even.
Okay.
No, 10 days.
10?
Yeah.
10 days?
10 days.
Really?
It was supposed to take 2 weeks.
Right. But you were with a group of women.
We were with a group of 11 women.
That's amazing.
11 women.
And there was a purpose.
The purpose was really quite a few purposes. So the group of women were really from Middle East and Europe.
Right.
So one of the main purposes was this cross-cultural connection to show that women from all around the world, from all walks of life, that was the other point. I mean, we had all sorts of reporter, a marketing person, a housewife, a teacher, a scientist, and so on, two instructors.
And I've heard about this expedition that you guys, normally you would get help from other people to, you know, set up your tents or provide you gear and, you know, just take care of the logistics. But the challenge I think about this is that you guys did it all by your own. You just showed up, did everything from scratch.
We didn't just show up. It took 2 years of planning.
2 years.
2 years of planning.
Right.
Each of my projects seem to take 2 years of planning.
That's interesting. Is there like, is there a reason, or is it
the
just
North
random?
Pole was supposed to happen in 1 year, but there was a 1 year delay.
Okay.
That's another story.
Okay.
And had its consequences, but
we'll come into that.
That was a 1 year delay, so therefore it took 2 years. But the second year was actually good because it helped us gain sponsorship. So one of the things we had to do, get sponsors, get our gear together, get a list of gear. What do we need? Actually do the research, get the gear together. As you can imagine, we won't get that in this part of the world. So there was a lot of ordering
100%.
that especially the Middle Eastern women had to do.
Yes.
Yeah. So it took 2 years.
And there was training involved in it.
A lot of training. So there was a lot of training. So there was a training of eating, first of all. We changed the way we eat.
I mean, survival kind of food is that
well,
I
started off first getting myself used to less amount of food for a longer duration while training endurance.
Interesting.
Eventually, just towards the end, I started just eating heavy fatty foods to just gain some weight. But I always somehow kept a very... I never managed to gain that much weight, and I didn't even shed weight, interestingly.
Interesting.
I didn't shed any weight.
That means you were doing it in the right way, I would say.
I gained muscle mass.
Perfect.
And I shed 500 grams, but I gained muscle mass. So it showed that my age gained. This was interesting. So for the North Pole, this is a really interesting part. We were all hooked up to all sorts of gadgets and machines throughout. So we were little guinea pigs. Women have never been tested in extreme conditions for a long amount of time on how they work physiologically.
Right.
Okay. And this research is needed, this data is needed to see how women would cope going out into space as astronomers.
Interesting.
The only data that we have are a few astronomers that have gone up, but it's also not of that long a time, and it hasn't been recorded for the women, mostly for the men. So this was, the research of this was shared with a few universities.
That's amazing.
They checked our stress levels, the cortisol levels. They checked, our hormones. They checked how much water we are using. So there was this really special water we had to drink in the beginning, super expensive. And what it does is, I don't remember the science exactly behind it, but it counts the molecules in it as sort of like detectors of how much water you are expending through breathing, through talking. We're getting thirsty right now because we're talking a lot. But for example, yeah, just existing, you excrete a lot of water. So that was checked. It was checked how we're sleeping. The sun never sets.
Yes.
So how does that affect your hormones, affect your mood? Our mood and our IQ was tested every day. We'd be checking our sleeping patterns. We'd be checking our heart rate throughout, our extreme body temperatures. This is all saved in data somewhere. And
wow.
It was quite interesting. It was quite interesting.
Right.
Yeah, so as a result of that, I found out that my age, so they also calculated our biological age before we set off. I was 18 years old.
Wow.
When I came back, I was 22 years old, and that's just in 10 days.
Very interesting.
Right?
Yeah. I want that test.
It takes they check your VO2, they check how calm you are, your heart rate. They lay you down and you're stuck to this machine for about an hour. You shouldn't sleep, but be in a meditative state. It's just a huge we were a week while we were in Norway. The 1 week before, this is what we were doing, just hooking up to these machines, and they had to take your pre, during, and after. So even after we came back from the expedition, they sent our little machines and gadgets, or little spit things to check the cortisol. So we had to spit into these little test tubes every day.
No, the funny story is that you come from Oman, and we don't have snow or skiing.
It was my first time skiing.
And you skied for 10 days continuous with your sled and your equipment, and that was a lot of weight, right?
That was a lot of weight. That was about 50 kilograms of weight. I weighed 52.
That was your weight. You were carrying your weight.
I was carrying my weight, but I'm not carrying it. I'm pulling it.
Yeah, still.
It was quite heavy. It was slow moving.
Right.
It was slow moving. That's why in 10 days it's 100 kilometers. So 1 degree is 100 kilometers.
Okay.
But you go more than 100 kilometers because the tricky thing is you're on ice, right?
Yes.
And the ice moves when you sleep. There's undercurrents. So some nights we moved north 10 kilometers. I think it was 12 kilometers, and we went back 8.
Wow.
When we woke up in the morning, we realized,
that's
nothing to do but keep going.
That's amazing.
Keep going. So we were under time pressure. It was supposed to be 14 days,
right?
But the ice started melting.
Right. So you had to.
They said, you've got 10 days, otherwise we'll evacuate you, no matter where you get to. If you make it to the end, great, and if you don't, we'll evacuate you. So you've got the choice. We can drop you halfway there. Yeah, we can drop you halfway there and just go ahead and no one's going to know, just say you've done it.
Yeah.
Or we drop you the whole way and there's a probability that you most probably won't make it.
And of course you went for the second choice.
We went for the second choice. Another thing, we didn't even have insurance. Oh God, that's another story.
That's another.
Yeah. We landed there and found out that the companies over there, because we're not from Europe,
right?
Half of the team,
right,
won't get insured, so we had to find our own insurance. Which insurance company over here in Oman will insure me to the North Pole?
You wouldn't. Normally, I use international insurance online.
Yes, but also a lot of them don't do specific, because they're specific for specific regions, 100%. For specific expeditions.
100%.
The North Pole, there's very limited that do it for that, and
because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So we took the risk. Evacuation was 25,000 reals if we were to evacuate.
Wow. Now, you were saying that there was a delay for a year. Why? What was the story? What's the story behind this delay, and what challenges did you face within that delay?
So it was 2016 that I found out about this expedition, that I started registering, that the whole process, and I got selected, really. I think it was 2016. So we were supposed to set off in 2018. a whole year of training. You can imagine it really puts something like, not imagine, you know, it puts your life on hold, everything, and that's your main focus. And so that was okay. I was happy to give it a year, and that was the time I got married.
So you got married in 2016?
17. 17. And...
Was it a love story?
It was. It was. So 2017, I got married. Was it? Yeah. And then we had to extend to the North Pole for another year. The leader of the group, Felicity, she got pregnant.
Okay.
They've been trying for so many years, and she was lucky that was the time. And of course, she wanted to keep the baby, and that meant to delay for all of us. So she let the team know we were all okay with it. I think most of the team, there weren't any. I think one had dropped out, yes, from the initial group and switched over. For me, that meant, unfortunately, you have a choice of extending for another year, or getting out of the marriage. Yeah, so he wanted to start a family, and you know, another year of waiting was not something. It was also not just waiting; it really took everything. So I was getting very little time, being at home and so on. So a lot of training. There was a lot of traveling as well for the training. Like you said, there's no ice over here, so how do you train? I went to Iceland to train. So there was all of that. So yeah, that happened. So 2018 it ended, and I went to the North Pole 3 months after that. Had to get my life back together very quickly in 3 months. So I did a few life-changing trips. I told you I like traveling, and I always liked traveling on my own as well. And this was a very good excuse to do that, to find myself again. And I needed to do that before, just collect yourself before going to the North Pole, which needed a lot of
mental preparation.
Mental, more than anything. The physical was one aspect, 100%. And that was the easy part.
And this is where, so you got married within training towards the North Pole.
He was a big part of my training. He really helped with the training, yeah.
Okay.
So.
And so it was a big part of your journey towards the North Pole.
Yeah, not the end.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
How?
I get it now.
So what happened?
Well, we went our separate ways, and yeah.
How did that impact you mentally within your preparation? So,
at that time?
Yes.
It was not easy. I took 1 month, and I'm like, I will just break down in this 1 month, do whatever I need to. It came as a shock as well. I thought we were happy. It came as a shock. If I give myself 1 month, okay, cry, do what you need to, you know, go through the process of grieving. And then after a month, I think it was my OCD that helped. So I actually put a date in the calendar. Okay, this is when you stop. And this is when I stopped, literally. And I packed my bags during that time as well. I went for a few trips, Goa, Nepal, as you do, to these places to find, you know, peace. Yourself, to find peace. And I did. And I found comfort in myself again. I think another thing, maybe sometimes I tend to do, I can't say woman generically, but sometimes what I tend to do in a relationship is lose yourself also a bit.
Yeah, it's normal. But that's how you find yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
but you shouldn't have to get out of a relationship to find yourself.
No, that's not what I meant. But I mean, like, when something is taken away from you internally, something else opens up without you realizing it.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. So you have the wound or whatever you're feeling, yet something else is opening up. It just makes you more vulnerable, I guess.
Yeah.
And you go through different emotions that you haven't felt before. And it's just, it doesn't feel good at the moment, but after a couple of years, you feel like something beautiful has opened up within you.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I see it. But how did you feel?
Exactly like that.
Okay.
I feel it's like any muscle breaking, really. As it breaks, it hurts then. You get your little aches and pains. Eventually it goes, and then the muscle just gets stronger, right?
Exactly.
And as do you. Yeah. So yeah, no, I do find myself, like I said, it worked out for the best. I find myself at a much better place now. Then there was Yellow Go. So
yeah, I mean that was a couple of years after the North
2
Pole.
years.
2 years. Yeah, so you have this 2 years happening with you, and
it took 2
so
years to plan.
So the Yellow Go happened to the 2020. So we're expecting something in 2 years, or what? Let's go back to that later.
You should be expecting something now, 2022, right?
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that question.
I've been slacking.
I have so many questions yet about the North Pole, and so you were going through a lot of emotions and you know, preparing for a huge expedition like that, and with your marriage and going through a divorce process is quite difficult within the same time. When you got to the North Pole, how were you mentally?
Actually got to the North Pole?
Yes.
Getting to the North Pole. So the 10 days, I loved it. The last 3 kilometers, I despised it. Every part of me inside was dying of fear of what happens when I get there. Does that mean this entire journey that I went through over the last 2 years, the training, the losing that relationship, all of that, this is where it comes to an end. This is what I've done. This is why I had lost that to say I have ticked this box, now what? And that fear of the now what, it was breaking me inside. It was really, really tough. In fact, we had a decision to make. We normally go 10 hours a day. And we got past our 10 hours and we were going into 12. And the group had to decide, do we continue going and make it there tonight, or should we set up camp? And the probability that we get pushed further from the ice and further away from the campsite is there. Take that risk. Or do we continue now? And although I was physically okay, inside I was just not able. And I was one of the ones to say, no, let's just stop here. I wanted to delay it as much as we could. But no, the majority of the group decided we go, and so I went, and every step I was dying inside. It was a very strange feeling getting there, doing the countdown. The degrees are dropping, and you see when you get to the 0, they put their poles down.
Wow.
Everyone's celebrating and hugging each other and
how did you feel
laughing.
when you got there?
I wasn't a part of that. It's funny. I hadn't prayed for a while, and at that moment I had no other urge, nothing. I didn't want to celebrate. I just felt this peace, real peace. Although the panic before that, the hours of panic before that, I turned around and I took a few steps south, and I just prayed. And I just felt such a peace. My head to the floor, and I didn't have any of my warm stuff because normally when you take a break you put your down jacket on.
Yes.
But I took my time, just even sat on the ground, said a prayer of thank you, and I just felt like a blanket of warmth over me. It was, I've felt that twice in my life, and that was just worth it at the end. Now I got you going.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
So it was worth everything you went through.
Yeah, I felt like I died and I came back to life there now. That was a rebirth. I had to go through that pain to get there.
So when you got back to Oman after your expedition, what happened?
What happened? Well, there was a big celebration. There was that's what it felt like. The next few months was a big celebration, really.
How did you feel? Because that was a period where,
it was overwhelming, really.
Right.
There was a lot. I'm a very private person.
I know.
And it was a lot. So it was even before the North Pole. I'm not sure I was really comfortable with the limelight. In fact, I wasn't at all. And now I just turned off all my accounts, all my social media, and I'm enjoying the privacy. But I did understand the benefit of doing that, getting in touch with people like yourselves. But no, really, it was the message that came out of this. I honestly didn't think that it could be a story of inspiration. For me, it started off as an adventure, really. It was purely selfish, I'll tell you that. I won't mask it and say I went out to inspire women. No, I went out for an adventure, as I always did. And there you go. It turned into something more. And I thought and also me working with Outward Bound, I realized I could inspire the youth even before the North Pole.
Fair enough.
And so if this only helps take my story further and helps maybe even change one life, because the outdoors saved me as well. I think I could have gone through a troubled path growing up. Also being adventurous, I think
Saved you? In what way?
Just being outdoors. Saved me from the wrong crowd, I would say.
Okay.
Saved me from, just going in the wrong direction in life. It always helps ground me as well, right?
Okay.
Even when things get too noisy in my head, just going outdoors just grounds you.
It does get too noisy in your head.
It does definitely it's very noisy in my head. It's a noisy place to be. But doing sports, you see, most of the sports that I do are flow sports. So surfing, kite surfing, climbing. You're not thinking about what you're doing. You
just do.
Exactly, just living in the moment, and your body automatically just does what it has to do. And that is a peaceful state that I get also when I'm just outdoors, just being. Just being, that is it.
And did you go through any mental struggles? Did you experience any mental...
Growing up, you mean, or throughout my life? Doesn't everyone, right?
Depression?
Oh, yeah. That's I don't know, because it seems to be a recurring theme. I find myself going through a lot of highs in my life and a lot of low lows and a lot of high highs, and I think that's just a cycle of life, right?
That's a cycle of life.
Exactly.
But not an actual...
I don't know what depression is. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Was it I've never been clinically,
okay.
you know.
That was my question,
No.
Okay.
Diagnosed, no.
Okay.
But maybe, yeah. That might have been depression. There were a few dark times, yeah.
Was that within your divorce, or was that before?
Like I said, a few ups and downs. So there was a stage in my 20s. I had a few good friends pass away. Okay. My best friend. And then in my early 30s with a divorce. I think it's picked up since then, huh? Maybe just once since then, yeah.
So when you came back to life, you said, okay, you went through a celebration, and then the noise again, and then...
Yeah.
And then you went back to life.
And then things settled down. What does settle down mean? Settle down means another project. Yeah. So the lots of noise also has to do with what next. Remember when we put the pole down at the North Pole, realized, prayed, and then realized, okay, now what next? And
we always put ourselves under that pressure.
We do. And it's funny, I even forgot this, but we were watching the video of the North Pole, so this is all recorded in a documentary. It's going to come out soon.
Amazing.
And the very last scene, when we get there, Misbah, she hugs me, one of my tent mates, and it was a very emotional time for all of us, of course, and I was just crying, and she was crying, and I'm like, what now? She's like, don't, Anisa, this is just the start for you. And little did I know it was just a start. I got back during one of the talks for the North Pole. I met my... Okay, long story? Here we go. So when we went to the North Pole, us 11 women, there was a team of, I'm not sure how many there were, 7 maybe, British Army female group that went down to the South Pole. Solo expedition to cross the entire South Pole on their own, first female group to do that, unsupported. And they did it. So we were following them. They were following us online, little did we know. And we met in Oman. Me and one of those members of the group, Natalie.
Natalie.
That's how it happened.
Yes.
So for Yalla Go to work out, I needed support from the Ministry of Defence, of course. The joint operations was...
So Yalla Go happened 2 years after the North Pole. And that was your project that you have been working on as well for 2 years.
For 2 years. It was actually in my head
for
4 years before that.
Where did the idea come from?
So when I first joined Outward Bound, the very first month, 3 months in, I got sent to Wales, to North Wales. There's a centre, mountain outdoor centre there called Plaza Brennan. It's like the Harvard of the outdoors, well known for climbers, mountaineers to go up there, get your qualifications as well. So once a week what happens is you get a speaker.
Okay.
They come in and they talk about their experience in the outdoors, something cool that they've done, some adventure or expedition of some sort. So when I got there, that week was one of their instructors as well, senior instructors, Adam Hargreaves. And he and a group of people drew a line across the map of Great Britain and walked it. And walked it, cycled it, did whatever they need to. They also had a paraplegic with them as one of the group members. So they had to put him on a cart, so there was a cycle involved as well at some stages, up and down mountains and so on. I'm not sure if they actually made it. There was one part that they had to get help because their partner, the paraplegic, couldn't get through. They couldn't help get him through either. Right. But it was such an amazing journey. It was just the idea of drawing a map and having to figure out how to get through all the different terrains. That really intrigued me. And I thought at that time, and I had hardly any experience in the outdoors, I just joined Outward Bound, I thought I want to do this one day. And just kept it at the back of my mind, not really thinking it's ever really going to evolve into anything until after the North Pole. Because I think I got the confidence as well from the North Pole, being unguided. We did a lot of the planning. And so we were involved, the entire team, in all of the planning. So I learned a lot from that.
You've learned a lot from the North Pole, from the
Outward Bound. Exactly. So putting all of that knowledge together, even through Outward Bound, getting a lot of contacts in the outdoors that were able to help me, experts in each terrain, in each location, and reached out to them. And 2 years later, after a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, a lot of training, we crossed Oman.
Wow.
Me and Natalie, yeah.
From مسندم.
Yeah.
The last, I don't know, like...
Jazir Salama, yeah.
All the way to Mirbat.
To Mirbat.
In a straight line.
In a straight line. As straight as you can get.
So, did you just open the map and drew a line?
Drew a line.
Wow.
It actually happened at the general's house.
Whatever happens. Where?
At the general. So the general is the link that connected me to Natalie.
Right.
The general was Natalie's, he was in charge of her at the time when she went to the South Pole.
Right.
He is the head of the loan office, the British loan office in Oman.
Okay.
And that's a connection that I got through the Ministry of Defence. And that's how he introduced me to the joint operations.
Right.
That meeting, my God, Noor. I walk in and say, listen to this. Oh, it's so funny. So we walk into this room. He's like, listen, tomorrow we got to go meet the joint operations. I've proposed them your plan. And then, so my plan, how it was done, going back to that, I was in his house for dinner. I told him the idea, hey, what do you think about, walking across Oman in a straight line? This has been in my mind. And he's like, okay, he brings out his map, which has all the topography, so it shows the structure,
wow.
One of those PDO maps.
Yeah, of course.
So over there, I'm looking at the mountains and all. I'm like, okay, so we first drew the map actually from Muscat to the southernmost point of Salalah, touching the border of Yemen.
People have done that a lot.
However, it didn't have that much of a diversity of terrain either.
No.
So I thought that's quite boring and
straight.
Flat.
Too flat.
As well, it was very flat.
Too flat for Anisa.
Then I drew the line from, I'm like, okay, what if we went from the northernmost point of Oman, where's that, to that same point in Salalah, but we'd have to go through Saudi Arabia to do that.
Which is the empty quarter.
But in Saudi Arabia with 2 women alone and support, and then another country involved in the logistics, it was just too much. So I shifted the line to just hit the border of Saudi and not go into Saudi, and that landed us in Mirbat. And that's how we ended up. And the story also goes, of course, that, you know, Salama Islands, the connection of that is that it's the first point of Oman. The sailors would know it as and recognize it as a part where they pay their taxes for crossing the Strait of Hormuz. So that's like the really beginning part. That's where they know we have reached the seas of Oman. And Mirbat, of course, has a significance of where the last war was to make Oman the united country it is now. So it was very significant, the story of it as well at the end. It crossed all the terrains I wanted.
You kayaked for 100 kilometers.
Yeah, my first time kayaking too.
I remember your hands and the bruises.
Yeah.
And then.
See, I never kayaked. So that was
your first kayak experience. 100, just like that, 100 kilometers.
Just like that, 100 kilometers. So I never knew what the impact would be on my hands. I didn't prepare with the gloves. Stupid enough. At the very last 2 days, one of the guys so we had this warship, and these people were just amazing. They were so hospitable. They just opened their entire ship just for us as support. So the idea was that we stay there.
Right.
And kayak as much as we can for the day. When we're done, they collect us back into their ship and spend the night there, set off from the same place. We have the GPS location, same place, and so on.
So you were helicoptered all the way first to start the starting point? No?
We were shipped.
Shipped, huh?
We drove to مسندم.
Right.
And from there we were shipped from Qasab to...
Okay.
On this warship.
Wow.
We get to مسندم, and there was this...
And you stayed there for like 3 days, and you kept on kayaking towards...
I was 6 days in the water.
6 days in the water.
6 days, 100 kilometers.
Wow.
6th day, we reached Derbe.
And then you started the hike, the walk.
Then, so the initial plan, when I drew that line, there was no COVID at the time. A lot of things had changed.
Yes.
The whole intention of this was to celebrate His Majesty's 50 years in Oman.
Yes.
His Majesty passed away as well during that time.
True.
So a lot of things had changed for the expedition too. Part of that with the route was that we couldn't go through the UAE anymore with it being COVID, and it was the entire country was on lockdown at the time we set off.
Right.
So there was that restriction. We were very lucky that our patron was His Highness the Liaison.
Right.
And we got the approvals, of course, with the joint operations as well to just cut through no matter
what. You crossed the wadis, the mountains, the empty quarter.
Yeah. So it started with the helicopter that you're mentioning is from Derbe to cross over the UAE to Wajaja is where we started.
Right, the walk.
Right at the border through Hatta, Wadi
And you
Hatta.
continued that for 50 days.
48, I think it was in the end, wasn't it? Right. 48 or 47? We did less than 50.
Wow.
Yeah. The objective was 50.
50. What was the main challenges of this?
So there was a physical aspect, which you get used to very fast. So like you said, the blisters, that was very painful in the beginning. And then you get used to your hand blisters. Then there was getting used to the feet blisters from Wajaja. And then you get used to it after a few days. Khalas, the pain just becomes a part of it. So the physical part you eventually get over. I think what was really hard was the people management for me.
Okay.
The people management, I would say, was the hardest part because a lot of the team, the core team that was there for most of the 50 days.
Right.
And it takes a toll on you. Being away from your family, a lot of that time we were out of network. We had the sat phone for emergencies, but daily contact with families was not an option.
Right.
So, and of course everyone's tired, and then your car gets stuck, and the camp's not ready in time, and it gets cold, and so on. It just
so it's the logistical part.
It was the logistical tied with the human factor. So because of the logistics, I think it was hard to control people's emotions and expectations.
Right.
You do get grumpy in the outdoors if
obviously
when things get tough, and if things aren't organized,
right,
and things aren't normally as organized as you want to make it in the outdoors, and especially through an expedition of 48 days,
right,
you're going to get an oddball thrown here and there.
100%.
So it's just dealing with that on the go,
right,
as well as dealing with having to walk the distance.
Right.
So there was both of that. Then there was the dealing with your partner as well. For me, that was a big thing.
Right.
For both of us, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you meet your partner?
I met her on the talk for the expedition when she came to Oman. That was 2018
You guys were not
October.
together in the expedition, but in the North Pole, but you were here for the first time.
So this is our first expedition together. So how it worked, we did a talk together.
Right.
It was called Pole to Pole when she came to Oman.
Yes.
Pole to Pole, about my experience in the north, hers in the south, and how, you know,
while
we were preparing for that presentation, she asked me what's next on your agenda.
Right.
And then I told her about the map and the line that I drew with.
And she was just in.
And she says, do you have a partner? I'm like, well, I'm looking for one at the moment. Can I join? No. Sure.
Wow.
Yeah. Probably should have given it more thought in retrospect now before deciding on who your partner is. It's really important to know that person well and to understand how the dynamics would work, especially for a long expedition like this.
What was your challenges with her, mainly, I would say? Maybe because you guys don't know each other very well, you have your own ways of doing things.
Yeah, I think it was precisely that. You hit the nail on the head. So it was more, also the background.
Yes.
So I, like I said, do the outdoors because it's a fun, adventurous experience for me.
Right.
Right. I was always curious about what's under that rock, what's under, and so me crossing Oman was very much like that. I keep picking up a random rock. I keep going behind the wadi. I know the route's this way. But hey, we've got 5 kilometers from our line, so I can go halfway there, explore that wadi.
And we won't always go back to those places.
Exactly, I won't go back here. That's precisely what I thought, you know. I might as well explore, just go up there. It's wasting a little bit of time, but who cares?
You have to explore.
She was a lot more regimented in her way. She also comes from an army background.
Of course, as a general. So.
And it was just march, march, march. And I think that was the biggest clash. And that had caused a few other clashes, but that was the main reason. It was, I think, the agenda that we came with, or the mindset that we came with. I was more explorer, she was more get to the end.
Who supported you within?
Everyone did. Everyone did. In short, everyone. The whole country. So we got support from the government, we got support from the corporates. I mean, we got the Land Rovers.
Who are the people?
Then that's what I mean. Other than the financial support, then you have the people. You've got my team, my family, my friends. This is the closest circle. People like yourselves that really became a part of Yalla Go. You were, you know, covering it throughout. The media that was there, the people of each region that came and welcomed us. Wow. Even though it was lockdown, and we did get into some trouble with the police on the way. Right, that's another story. Right. That was a funny night, but yeah, they were just so welcoming all along the way. The army themselves went way beyond. All they had to do was check that we have enough food, fuel, and water if we need an emergency. Wow. Okay, they went beyond that. The jalsat, they'd come in the middle with carloads of food and the whole. They set up the place. It's like a proper 5-star buffet in the middle of the desert, in the click of fingers, and it was really just, so sweet of them. Every district you pass, there's a new group in charge of that, and just the welcome you get.
There was a point that you felt like you almost died?
That was it. That was when, so before the sun sets, we were doing our final attempt. We found one more wadi, maybe possible way. We don't know until we get there what's on the other end, right? As we're going up this, it started getting really dark, and we see that our path that we had selected going up is very steep. Right. And the rocks are breaking, so you can't even climb it.
So when you were climbing, you were falling off.
Exactly.
And that's where you felt?
Very unsafe. So at this point, I was left alone, halfway up. There was another route going up, but really treacherous. So Dr. Khalid and Natalie said, you stay here, we will go up, because I also had radio contact at that point. Right. And I could contact you guys. Yes. And they said, so, since you have radio contact, stay here. You can hear us as long as we are within earshot.
Yes.
Okay. So they went. We're still shouting to each other to make sure we're in earshot. Eventually, I don't even hear them. And that's when I called you in, and it started getting really windy, and I heard rocks falling. Then I heard one rock fall and Natalie scream. That's when my heart dropped, and I thought, okay, something bad has happened. Eventually, about 15 minutes later, that's when I called you guys in and said, we might need help, we might need a pickup out of here. I don't know what's happening, but I don't even know how we're going to make it down, because we had to climb up, actually climb. I would call it maybe grade 5 climbing, some of it. So it wasn't scrambling anymore, you're actually climbing.
Free climbing.
Exactly. Free climbing with a heavy backpack, right?
Exactly.
So I'm not going to down climb that, and I'm scared of heights. So down climbing means you actually have to look down.
Heights. You have asthma.
Yeah.
You cross the North Pole. You cross the Oman.
And I hate the cold.
North to south.
Yeah, a bit of a contradiction there, but...
Are you doing this because... Why?
I don't know. I think the curiosity is bigger than the pain, or you forget the pain. I've got a very bad memory, so I forget the pain, and every 2 years you want to go through it again for the adventure, for the curiosity. That's what keeps it going.
Wow.
It's worth it. You forget the pain.
Forget the pain. You got to the end of Yalago.
Yeah.
You finished it in Rabat, and that's where we met and covered your finish line.
That was amazing.
It was beautiful, wasn't it? And that's an expedition, another expedition of Anisa that she actually organized and did it from scratch. And that was
That was my baby.
That was your baby. Exactly.
Yeah.
How did that change or added into your life?
So you asked about depression earlier. This was my most recent phase after I came back. So apparently you get expedition blues.
Yes.
Yeah. And apparently the longer you stay out away from people, the stronger it is.
Obviously.
So it took me a few months, 6 months until I was completely almost back to normal. And yeah, it's just...
Is that when you disappeared?
That's when I disappeared off the face of the earth.
You're still not around.
I'm still not around, no. I'll come around when it's time for the next adventure. Until then, no one needs to know anything.
I love it. Right. So, what's next?
What's next? You know, I've come to realize that it doesn't have to be a physical adventure that life throws at you. It's not that you should always go chasing. There's so many other types of adventure, and it comes in all shapes and forms. And I think I'm living one of those adventures right now, and that's taking 100% of my focus. And I want to focus on that, which is, I've changed my career after leaving Outward Bound, got into something completely different. It's still learning and education, but more corporate, so there's a lot more to it. I'm learning so much. I'm gone corporate. I'm learning so much. I'm growing so much, and I'm ever more curious, but in a different way towards something else. So I'm going to put my effort and focus on that. I am toying with the idea, of course, that's always going to be there, of other adventures, and I've got a few things on mind, but they're going to be big, and it's going to take some time. There's two in mind. Right. I want to mention it. But one would be if it works out, and the global situation right now hasn't helped it. So if everything goes well, that would take 3 years.
Okay.
The expedition itself.
Right. So I'll see you in
without planning. That's the actual expedition is a 3-year expedition. So
the expedition is for 3 years.
Yes. So that's all I'll say.
All right, and it's out of the country, obviously.
It will cover some ground.
Some. Right.
That's plan A. Should that not work, I'm toying with another idea, which is closer to home, let's say.
Okay. There is a 3 years expedition, huh?
That's a big one.
I think I can almost.
That would probably be happening closer to retirement if that does happen. I'm aiming for early retirement. That's not too bad. So I've just got 6 years to go. 5 years. I'm done.
Can we exchange? I can't leave
right?
early.
Just live.
Just live. So, what message would you give the youth that you came across a lot of youth within your job? What's the kind of message that you always keep on telling them throughout all these years? Or you would still like to send that message to?
I think my message always changes.
Yeah.
As does your story, your life. As your life changes, your theme changes.
Right.
But I would always say, my best advice would just be stay curious, because I think that's always led me to the most beautiful things, sometimes into a lot of trouble. But at the end of the day, you discover a lot through that. The good, the bad, and the ugly, everything about yourself, about others. So stay curious in whichever form. It doesn't have to be go explore. Just stay curious. Keep that child within. And that's the only part of the child keep. Grow up emotionally, grow up in whichever way you can, but keep that curiosity.
To the woman?
It's the very same thing, and even more so. And be brave in that. Be bold in your whatever terrain of curiosity you're taking, because you will be an outlier in that.
You have this character, this energy, and you have a story that is really worth to be heard and told. And I'm sure that there are parts of it that I don't know of, and many people don't. People don't know you. People know Anisa as a name, but they don't know you. And your story needs to be heard. And I'm sure it will inspire so many people. And that's the purpose of this. That's the whole purpose of us going for the Hunna episodes. Is this your first interview?
No, I've done
in this form.
In this form, yes. Yes, it's more of a comfortable chatting kind of interview.
How do you feel about it?
It didn't feel like an interview, so that's good. I think the good thing here is that my glasses frame just covers the camera right there, so I don't even see them. I'm just looking at you. It doesn't feel like an interview.
How do you feel about it so far?
I'm a little concerned about how much I opened up, but you know, hey, it's my story.
It's your story. It's what made you who you are.
Me, exactly. Yeah. Wear it loud and proud. Go ahead. Air it.
Air it, huh? Happening. Thank you so much, Anisa.
Thank you.
I've been really, really wanting to have this with you, and I'm very glad that you gave us the trust and you made an effort to be here today. So we really, really, really appreciate it.
I thank you for dragging me out of bed and making me come here today. But at the end of the day, I didn't feel like it was an interview. It was really just a pleasure to talk to you and open up in this way.
And I got to know you better and a lot better. So I'm very happy with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.